said that, as Gordon Sondland said at the beginning of September, he presumed there was a quid pro quo. Then there was a telephone call to you on September the 9th. Had he ever talked to you prior to that telephone call?
Let me just tell you, I hardly know the gentleman, but this is the man who said there was no quid pro quo, and he still says that. And he said that, I said that, and he hasn't changed that testimony. So this is a man that said, as far as the president is concerned, there was no quid pro quo. Everybody that's testified, even the ones that are Trump haters, they've all been fine. They don't have anything.
There you have it, the infamous "I've never met the guy." If you had November 8th on your bingo card as the date that Trump would pretend not to know his own ambassador to the European Union, congratulations. And by the way, Gordon Sondland isn't just Trump's ambassador to the EU. He donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when someone gives me $1 million, I usually have a decent sense of who they are. But besides naming him to a government post and handing him a check for more money than most Americans will see in their lifetimes, it gets worse. Sondland had been a central figure in negotiating with Ukrainian officials because why wouldn't the ambassador to the European Union be taking meetings with officials from a country not in the European Union? The reason, of course, is that he was doing Trump's bidding by notifying the Ukrainians that the president expected the deliverable of a public announcement of an investigation into Joe Biden and the firm his son worked for, Burisma, before the United States would release nearly $400 million in military aid that had been previously allocated by Congress and paid for by American taxpayers, aid that wasn't theirs to use as a carrot on a stick to help Trump's re-election campaign. But wait, there's more. Because when Bill Taylor, the top US diplomat in Ukraine, later texted Gordon Sondland that it was, quote, crazy to link Ukraine assistance to help with Trump's political campaign, Gordon Sondland responded several hours later, "Bill, I believe you are incorrect about President Trump's intentions. The president has been crystal clear, no quid pro quos of any kind. The president is trying to evaluate whether Ukraine is truly going to adopt the transparency and reforms that President Zelensky promised during his campaign. I suggest we stop the back and forth by text." Now, notwithstanding the fact that he says let's stop texting now and how usually that's not a great indicator that everything's on the up and up, let's take a look at the timestamps. Bill Taylor texted Sondland at 12:47, and Sondland responded nearly 5 hours later at 5:19. And that's because, in that time, Sondland had called Trump on the phone to discuss what his response should be. So when Trump says that he doesn't know the guy, his phone records tell a slightly different story. And look, we've seen this tactic from Trump before. He said Paul Manafort, his campaign chairman, came into the campaign very late and was with us for a short period of time. He called George Papadopoulos, his foreign policy advisor, a low-level volunteer. The White House said that Trump and Steve Bannon, his chief strategist, were not particularly close. If Don Jr. ever ratted out his father, guaranteed Trump would pretend he never met the guy. But the best part is that Trump says that Sondland testified that there was no quid pro quo. And Trump was right that he did testify that last month, but Sondland then went back to investigators and revised his testimony to say that there was a quid pro quo after he realized other witnesses would have contradicted his initial testimony and shown that he lied to Congress. In his follow-up, Sondland gave an updated statement to the House investigators stating, "I said that resumption of the US aid would likely not occur until Ukraine provided the public anti-corruption statement that we had been discussing for many weeks." And in case there's any doubt, that is the literal definition of a quid pro quo. And here's the thing, all of Trump's goons should probably use this as a learning opportunity and realize that there is nothing, no amount of money or loyalty that will stop Trump from bulldozing through them to save himself. Because while he exacts loyalty from those around him, he has shown on countless occasions that he won't think twice before tossing anyone and everyone to the side. So while Trump might pretend that he has no idea who the person that he was directly counseling to help him extort Ukraine is, the truth is that his performance is fooling exactly no one.